Hey, how's it going there? Welcome to Moos'n Around the Kitchen. My name's Terry Moose Butler, and being that it is winter time, we're going to work on one of my favorite recipes. This is my Italian style chili. You're going to love it. All right, let's get cooking. In tonight's recipe, in my Italian style chili, we're mixing the ingredients up and we're going with a more Americanized Italian style. So in our recipe tonight, we have the jalapeno here, the red pepper. Of course, we also have minced garlic, Parmesan, the heavy whipping cream to give it a nice creaminess, and then the mild Italian sausage. Of course, you can go with a hot sausage if you prefer. I'm cooking with my children in mind tonight, so we're going to keep it mild. We have the Roma tomatoes, a nice sweet yellow onion, and then of course organic beans, black, Great Northern, and red kidney. Now, if you are looking for a little bit something a little bit faster, of course you can use one of my favorite ingredients, which is the Rotel green chili tomatoes, and then you can really fly through this recipe and just throw everything in your pot and get cooking a little bit faster. But tonight we're going to do everything as organic as possible or from scratch. All right, so now when it comes to the next step here, we're just going to cut up our vegetables, and with the tomatoes we want to go with something that's a little bit more firm. I like the Roma, works great in most cooking recipes. You get a nice pasty tomato here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quarter these up, and then I'll slice them thin so they cook up nice into the chili. All right, so now we're going to use one of my favorite knives. I love this thing. And not required here to cut off the ends, but sometimes it's nice if you don't like that little stump. So we're going to quarter these, start by cutting it in half. You just flip it down, and then you quarter them. And then from here, we're just going to take them and get nice little thin slices. So this way, as I said, you get a nice little thin tomato in there, and it cooks up a little bit better into the chili as it's going along. In tonight's recipe, I'm going to only use half the onion. You can use the entire onion if you want. But what I do use, half of it's going to go into the pot, and I'm going to fry that with the garlic and the sausage, which I'll show you shortly. And then half of that is going to go in with the onions and the peppers. So I do have the tomatoes cut up and ready to go. And now I'm just going to give a few slices here to the peppers. You can make these pieces as big as you want or as small as you want. I do like my pepper slices a little bit bigger. For my boys, they don't really care too much for the pepper, so they'll just eat around these parts. And for whatever reason, they don't like the tomatoes. So we'll see how all this goes together. All right, so a couple of tips when cutting a couple of my favorite vegetables. Jalapenos here, you see I have diced up already, and then I have the onions already mixed in with my tomatoes and peppers. But with the peppers, of course, you want to eliminate the crying, so you want to wash your hands and not get that capsaicin, which is what causes the heat. You don't want to get that capsaicin into your eyeballs. And then with the onions, one of my tips there is that you want to breathe through your mouth and not through your nose. The moment that you cut into an onion, it releases a chemical that triggers you to cry. There's a chemical that reacts with your tear ducts. So when you cut the onion, if you breathe through your mouth, that prevents the chemical from passing through your nasal passage, which goes right to your tear ducts. So breathing through your mouth and wash your hands. All right, so the next step here is we're going to get the Italian sausage cooking. Now, anyone that knows me knows that I absolutely love garlic. So I like to fry the garlic up with the onions first, and be as generous as you want to be with the garlic. I scoop it in pretty generously. You like to use a deep pan too. I don't even bother with frying up the sausage and doing separate pans. You can just do the sausage, throw in the onion right there, and let all that fry together. I'm going to just toss in the sausage right now. And we'll get that all cooking together. And I like to let the onions and sausage and all of that fry together, because then you can cook in the flavor right into the sausage. All right, now we're going to get into the beans of the recipe. One of the great things about beans is they're of course very versatile in cooking, but they're very high in protein. So for those that are eating a vegan diet, which I like to do 2 days a week, it's such a great source for that protein that you need. Something to keep in mind with beans, There's also a very well-known doctor who wrote about lectins in food, and there's lectins in tomatoes, there's lectins in uncooked beans, and supposedly they're very unhealthy for you. But if you get a chance, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but it's a very good book talking about longevity in your life and avoiding lectins in your food. Now with the beans though, maybe this is a controversy, maybe it's not. Some people tell you that you should absolutely rinse your beans before putting them into anything. The brine that the beans are sitting in is actually just salt water, so there's nothing that's bad about the brine. I actually prefer to cook my chili with the brine in it. Of course, you have a little bit higher sodium content when you don't rinse the beans, but the brine actually can give your chili a really nice thickness. You could probably hear the sausage frying up right now. But if you do remove the brine, you are reducing the sodium by about 40% of what the can says that's on there. Another piece of interesting information with chili, traditionally not made with beans actually. There's a huge debate about that as well. It was Bernal Diaz del Castillo in a book called The True Story of the Conquest of New Spanish from 1568. I didn't read this. This is information I got online. The author describes how the remains of the luckless conquistadors sacrificed and butchered by the Aztecs were put up into a stew with peppers, tomatoes, and oregano. And that was the original story behind how chili was invented. However, something a little more realistic is that it was developed in Texas back in the 1800s. All right, you can see that the sausage is frying up really nice now. We have the heat set at about a medium, just a little bit above medium. We don't want to burn our sausage here, and we don't want to burn the remnants of the garlic and onion. We want that flavor to just all cook in nice together here as we get this going along. Shortly here, once the sausage is done cooking, which it's only been cooking now here for about 4, maybe 5 minutes tops, as we let the heat increase, we're going to be able to just throw everything in together. So one of my favorite aspects of this recipe is it's so quick, and other than cutting the vegetables, it's fairly easy. And not even that cutting vegetables is a difficult task. As I said before, if you're looking for something a little bit faster and you just want to be able to throw everything into a pot and just go, of course, you can just throw in your garlic, start cooking the sausage, and then once the sausage is cooked up, you can throw the cans of beans and you can throw in the rotel. Again, rotel is probably one of my staples. I keep a huge box of that rotel tomatoes ready to go with the green chilies. But that works really well in this recipe if you're looking for something just a little bit faster. I really like to promote, though, eating as healthy as possible, using as fresh of foods as possible, and organic if you can. The smell is outstanding. We've got the garlic cooking into the sausage with the onion right now. So I'm going to add the beans and the tomatoes and all the other fresh ingredients. We'll let that cook up just a little bit, and then we'll throw everything else in, including the heavy whipping cream and then the Parmesan. And the Parmesan also acts as a good, just kind of little garnish on top before you serve. All right, so now we're ready to add everything in here. So we'll start out with all the fresh veggies. Stir that in a little bit. Now, hopefully you were able to see before I just tossed everything in, the onions had a nice clearness to them, so that's how we knew they were ready. Here's an onion right there, whether you can see it or not. And then now we'll go ahead and throw in the beans. And again, I do cook it with the brine, because that brine will give your chili a really nice thickness. And with the different colored beans, you have the black beans, the white beans, the red beans, you have the red tomatoes, you have the green pepper, or you have the jalapeno pepper in there. And then when we add the cream, this will just have a beautiful color as well, which can add to the eye appeal of the entire meal. If you're worried about the heat in the sausage or in the jalapeno, there's a lot of options here that can help you out. Of course, using the heavy whipping cream will automatically knock out some of the heat from the capsaicin that you're going to find in the jalapenos. But you could also use just a plain sausage, or you could use just regular green pepper or something like an Anaheim pepper, which isn't quite as hot as a jalapeno. There's a lot of options out there for you. Also, if you're looking to make this into a vegan meal, you can use coconut milk, which comes in a can. It's going to be a little higher sugar content, so it's going to be a little bit sweeter, but it's a good way to make this into a vegan dish. And then also, of course, instead of using sausage, there are some great vegan Italian sausage, or just some great vegan sausage options that are available for you as well. If you want to do it as a beef chili, there's some great vegan options. This recipe itself is so versatile. You can add beans, you can take away beans. You can do beef, you can do sausage, you can do beef and sausage. But for tonight's recipe, we're going to try to give it that American Italian twist. And now I'm going to be adding the heavy whipping cream, mixing in a little Parmesan cheese. It'll thicken it up just a little bit more, and it's going to add that nice little flavor to it. Gives it so good. All right, as you can see, this is boiling up really good right now. And it's sad that there isn't such a thing as smell-o-vision right now, because the smells coming up from this pot are just amazing. You can smell the garlic, you can smell the onion, the tomato, the sausage, the seasoning, the jalapeno, the pepper, and then you have all those different beans that are in here that each have its own individual flavor. We're going to go ahead and turn down the heat a little bit, though. We're going to put it down to about a 3 or a 2, because at this point now everything's cooked together. You don't really need to cook the cream. Now, I prefer to use a heavy whipping cream. You can use milk if you want, but the heavy whipping cream is really what makes it just amazing. As far as an amount of heavy whipping cream, I probably use about maybe 1/4 to 2/3 of a cup of heavy whipping cream. And now as I mix this together, you can see it's got a nice light color to it. And then really right away, once you have that stirred up, go ahead and just toss in some of that Parmesan. I'm going to do about 2 handfuls here. And then when you serve it, then you can sprinkle a little Parmesan right on top of it once you're done serving. So we'll go ahead, get this stirred in. And then not only does it give it a nice flavor, it thickens up your chili a little bit too. This is going to be so good. I wish you could taste this. And really, there you go. It's, at this point, it's ready to serve. I mean, look at that. Just amazing. Now, one of the other things that I wanted to talk about this evening in making this dish be healthy for you really is portion sizing. So we got our ladle here, and I'm only going to do 2 scoops. We're going to do right up level 2 scoops into a bowl, and that really should be a good portion for you. So just keep that in mind. But I have to admit, this is hard to eat just 2 scoops of. All right, this is ready to dish up. So we're just, like I said, we're going to do 2 even scoops, and that'll give you your full serving for the evening. This might even be a little bit too much for my boys. But look at that. Oh my God. And then of course, we're gonna just sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan right on top there, and that'll be your garnishing. Amazing. Well, I want to thank you all for joining me in today's episode of the Italian style chili. And this entire month, I'm going to really focus on the foods that I really enjoy making, that I have a good knowledge of. And so you're going to see some of my favorite dishes this month. I'll be posting every Friday evening, And I would love to see your comments on how you think it tastes or how you think it would be better. And anything that you think about the video that you'd like to see, maybe have me change up a little bit. I'd really love to see your feedback. So go ahead, click subscribe, do whatever it is that you're supposed to do. I would love if you followed me. And I'm sorry, I have to taste this. This is, oh my goodness. Oh my God. All my coworkers are going to be so lucky. Well, that's just me saying my own food. So I want to say thank you for joining me tonight. This has been Terry Moose Butler in Moos'n Around the Kitchen.